no.
Eight.
There
About
we
seven.
are.
There you go. I
Yeah.
won the lottery, bro. 8.
What's up, everyone? It's
What's
Will
happening?
Wofford here with Checkers Delight, as I got my buddies here with me, Keith Shovelin and Jason McCammon, and we are going to go
Kapla.
over. Yeah, really, dude. We just got here. All right, that too. Kapla to you too. So yeah, you're going over Lower Decks, season 5, episode 1 and 2, and that is Dos Cerritos. And what's the second one called?
Shades of Green.
Shades of Green. And I loved the double meaning behind that. It was so good.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but blue is not a shade of green.
Yeah, it is.
yes, it is.
It's a completely separate.
It's like they were they really blue though, or were they like turquoise? You know,
it's kind of turquoise.
All right. So say you have to say the line. You have to say the line.
No, I'm not around you anymore. It's just you killed it.
Then Keith, say it for me.
Out of respect for our dear friend Marie, who is going through a very tough time right now.
Together.
Let's just go ahead and roll.
That beautiful green footage. Every other vote.
And you gotta admit, the dude that was coming down the aisle, he was kind of cute. I'd have carried him on my shoulder.
Here we are. Welcome once again to Trekkers Delight.
Like literally, my mic falls down just as we go live. Hi, everybody.
Who you gonna be?
The captain of the Enterprise Z.
Love that baseball and the teacup. Like clearly, TNG DS9 fans. So.
Man, that we see power rates at some point in this season.
What is going on?
Power has shit to do with the power rates.
No, everybody, this is actually one of the main screenwriters for Prodigy, so we are super excited to hear from you. And also, I'm a little embarrassed for being as critical.
Man, I really love that intro.
This was a nice touch.
Keith, thanks for saying that. As William drinks his plant water, you don't have cups in your house?
I do. I just like glass. I like this one. This is the iconic one that I usually drink out of anyway.
It's a classic milk bottle,
right?
Yeah.
It has the imprint on the side. You can tell.
Hey, I just want to say something about what we just said about colors and how it separates people. When you said,
I
said,
when in God's name did we wait?
what I said is blue. I said blue is not a shade of green, and you were like, yes, it is.
Oh,
and I was like, okay,
that is not where I.
There's like a thing with people that separates people, and if you ask somebody, what do the colors blue and green make? You get two different answers between the type of person that you are, right? So I'll ask Will, what do the colors blue and green make?
Turquoise.
Okay, well, usually you get one person who says green. I'm sorry. Okay, my question is, what do the colors blue and yellow make? That would have been my question.
Oh,
what are the colors?
Blue and yellow make green.
They make green.
They don't.
What are you talking about, Jason?
So if you're talking about from a photography perspective, and you're using
temperature colors,
light,
yes,
then blue and yellow make white. But if you're talking about like from a painter and you're painting on a piece of paper, then blue and yellow make green.
Right.
And
right.
Sometimes,
which is color theory, yes.
Yes. I learned that in theater.
Which is a color theory that's on paper. But with light, it's
not just on paper; it's also on canvas and drywall. And
it is that light. With light, it'd be different.
Right. Okay.
Speaking
We're
of
talking about a skin color, so that's not a light perspective there.
I'll go with that. Anyway, what are we talking about, Will?
Speaking of blue and green,
The Orions, yes.
so
The
this is
Orion.
from the animated series.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm
Pirates
getting ahead
of
of my.
Orion.
I just wanted to briefly touch on that for 10 seconds because I thought that was so cool that they brought them back before we jump into that. Uniforms, pretty much the same.
Mhm.
Maybe a little bit more. It's just a different design, but they're pretty much the same.
What's crazy is I couldn't figure out. I was like, have we seen them before? I think I've seen them before. But where have I seen them? I couldn't think of an episode, but I didn't remember that it came from the animated series.
Yeah. So, all right, Dos Cerritos. It's actually a pretty simple storyline.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple, but it's got a lot of social.
What was the B plot? Did they even have a B plot?
Oh yeah, of course they did.
Yeah, it's Tindy.
They had several layers of plot. I mean,
Yeah,
because I know plot A was going through the rift and then going to a different timeline or a different universe, slightly different of a 0.347 variance, which is very, very close. It's very, very close, but still different. And then another plot is Tindy being told by her sister, hey, we just bought this area, go take this ship. Tindy doesn't want to kill anyone. What are the extra and then of course Rutherford losing his shit because
it's different things. I mean,
a lot of things, right?
Yeah, well, you have the two Cerritos crews coming together, and the clashes between the people of each ship. So it's
right
Beckett versus Becky, the Tillins of Remarkable versus Fascinating. You have the Rutherfords. The Rutherford of the other timeline is mostly cybernetic.
Mm-hmm.
Tendi had left, and he had there's no hope of her coming back, so he deleted her from his memory.
So horrible.
You had Lieutenant Bradford Boimler with a beard versus our Brad. Now, the only ones that seemed to get along real well were the Boimlers, but the Rutherfords tried. Well, the Rutherfords did once. Our Rutherford
tried.
The other one programmed his.
The other Rutherford didn't.
Friendship.
The other Rutherford didn't try or not try. It just was not important for him. But that's a story in itself about what Rutherford could have done with Tindy being gone and how much it affected him.
So we can agree that he loves her.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, because I thought it was that episode on Ferenginar was just like a temporary thing that they didn't really want to revisit.
Okay, first of all, there are many types of love.
Yes, there are.
Right.
They are platonic love. They have not romantic love.
Oh.
Even though they do seem to be very, very close, they genuinely enjoy spending time together, but it is in no way sexual.
That is interesting.
When I wrote a book once, and that was sort of a main plot that I wanted to put because my main two protagonists were a young boy, a boy and a girl, teenagers, and I did not want them to fall in love at all. And I would go to schools and I would talk to the kids, and they would be like, "Are they ever going to get together?" And all the kids went, "Oh, are they going to get together?" And I was just like, "Well, at this time, no. Like that's not." There's way more. If you read the story, there's way more important than them falling in love with each other. Men and women can be together without being in love and without physically doing that thing.
I mean,
it's where you put your priorities, what you put your attention to. If you're actively seeking romance, you'll find it anywhere. And what I like to call I can't remember if I took this from somebody or if I came up with myself, proximity infatuation, where you sort of fall for the person closest to you.
Interesting.
What is it that Data says when he says he missed someone. And I remember
Ooh.
Troy did an actual quote of him. And you know what I'm
I
talking
know
about.
I know what you're talking about.
Remember M. Graham's something.
Mrs. Your presence or something like that. Oh, he didn't use the word Mrs., but
Did not use the word
Yes.
Mrs.
Your absence.
your absence. But okay, what yeah.
So basically, what we have, you have Captain Freeman is concerned that she doesn't know. She wants to know what happened to her alternate self, and we don't find out until the very end that she is actually over at Starbase 80. So she did something wrong that got her sent to Starbase 80.
But do we know what that means?
That's where the crazies are.
Well, no, we start with Starbase 80 last season because Mariner got sent there at the end of. Actually, no, that was season 3. At the end of season 3, Mariner got sent there when she decided to get her mother overreacted to when they were filming the story about her, about the ship, and she thought Mariner was talking, saying things behind her back to the reporter, when in fact it was everybody else who was saying things.
Yeah, it was a Cry Wolf story, I think. That did, wasn't it? Because they kind of like, no, Mariner, this is what you would do, and they kind of gave her the cold shoulder. I think isn't that what happened?
Yeah, well, everyone assumes that. Yeah, everyone pretty much knowing how she was, that she would always go that far, and didn't realize that everyone else was actually doing it in piece by piece. So. But yeah, so we found out 2 seasons ago that Starbase 80 is basically where they send the Starfleet officers that just are awful. But yeah, so there's the worry about that. You've got the clash of all the senior crew. It's basically different hairstyles and clashing over who has more power, who's better between the two of them. Boimler, it's a case of he's envious, he's jealous of his alternate self because his alternate self is extremely confident. You have the Rutherfords because the one has completely closed himself off with the absence of Tendi, turning himself into a machine. Very much the Tin Man story, the background of the Tin Man story from The Wizard of Oz. That actually, well, in some cases, in part of it, just dismembering himself and replacing it with machine.
That's sad.
And then, of course, Mariner, we see her, if she got serious, but got overly serious, like went way over the top.
Yeah,
right.
She was physically abusing her crew.
Yeah,
she didn't like herself at all.
As they would say, a benevolent dictatorship.
I mean, she was like low-key worse than, I mean, if you really think about it, Jellicoe really wasn't that bad, but only because I don't know who else to compare to, she was worse than Jellicoe.
Yes. Well, just the fact that someone brown-nosing her, she sent them to the brig. Like, she doesn't want someone, she doesn't want any behavior that is unbecoming of a Starfleet officer.
He wasn't even really brown-nosing her,
but that's what she said.
Right.
Yeah.
And that most of, I think, either Rutherford or someone else said that most of the ship is just brigs.
Yes.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Damn. Hey, was that a Maharon statue at the beginning, or is that something different?
Oh, the Ryson statue, yes. One of the statues in the collection. And of course, the collector we have there looks like the guy that was in the most toys from the TNG episode.
He didn't look like him to me. He looked like a different guy. I mean, he had the same get up, but he didn't look like the same with me.
Like I said, he looked like him, and without, don't know if it's the same guy, but. And we had that guy at the beginning of season 3 when they were when you had Mariner and Boimler working the Starfleet exhibit table, and you had a collector's table a couple down with two of the people like we saw in that episode, the most toys from TNG.
Yeah. It just always makes me sad when I know that Picard passed up Jamal Harron with Vanessa Williams.
No, he didn't. Vanessa Williams was in the Deep Space Nine episode, not in the TNG episode.
In the TNG
Are you
episode,
sure?
it was Vash.
I'm absolutely certain.
It was Vash that was with Picard on Risa.
Yes, in the Captain's Holiday from TNG.
Yeah, that's what I thought she was in.
Vanessa Williams.
No,
was
she was
Worf
in the
and
DS9 episode.
Well, whoever passed it up was wrong.
That would be Worf.
And Worf was married to Jadzia, wasn't he? Or were they just no? They were on a date. It was
they
like
were dating at that point. Still,
they were dating.
Yeah. That's a horrible episode, by the way. That's absolutely horrible because Worf joins with a religious cult and tries to take down Risa.
That's horrible. Like he wanted order so much that he low-key kind of betrayed his own beliefs just to get order on a planet because they were in the middle. They were in the middle of the Dominion War, right?
This was
the beginning of it.
Earlier.
The beginning. This was pre-Dominion War, I think. Just right at the beginning.
Also, I have an impulsive comment. I'm kind of glad that Orion girl kind of like pulled the metal thing that was in his nose because I kind of been wanting to do that ever since I saw it on TNG. I'm just like, don't you just want to just pull it out? Like he said, no, it's prescription. I'm like, what? What?
But they didn't show him pull it out because if they showed it, it'd be blood everywhere.
Man, I was kind of hoping they would, or I would hear like a popping sound, but he just screams, and I'm just like, oh, bless his heart. Maybe that's where his teeth is in his nose or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna assume that. I don't know. I have no idea. That was just an impulsive thought. I'm sorry.
So yeah, basically the crews have to work together to close the fissure to send our Cerritos back to its universe. And at the last second, Captain Becky Freeman knocks out Mariner with a phaser shot and swaps uniforms with her because she wants to go back being. She doesn't want to be a hard ass anymore. Wants to go back to being a rogue, and
So it's still Mariner. It was still Mariner.
Yes.
I'm not understanding the reasoning. Go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead.
I'm not understanding the reasoning. So I get where she was coming from in a general sense, but our Mariner kind of had a point. Why don't you just lighten up and just do you, even as a captain?
Because you've already solidified yourself as this person in this place. You can't expect to just change everything all of a sudden and expect it to work well for you. Like,
I mean,
that's hard. Everybody already has their expectation of you.
I wish I sadly agree with that. I'm gonna tell you why I want to disagree with that. But the reason I agree with that is because I remember our Kirk went to the mirror universe and talked to their Spock, and he was eventually killed anyway. So, I mean,
right. So people might want to kill you for not being you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, Tendi did it. She was still herself, but she wasn't.
They were ready to kill her.
Yeah, they were ready to kill her. Like, what is she doing? So if you're not you, all of a sudden you stop being you, then they think something's wrong. And if you've established a ship of order and principle on that order, then they're like, we got to get rid of her.
Hey, John.
Yeah, John, agree 100%.
We agree. Well, welcome. Thanks for watching, man.
What's up, John?
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I said, I reluctantly agree with you, Jason, but I kind of wish it. I guess it's not that simple, because in my head, I'm thinking you're the captain. You've established dominance over the ship, so it really don't matter how you act.
No, it does, because I literally
that's what I'm saying. I feel like it shouldn't, but it does.
No, but if the crew gets used to you being a certain way, and you start acting opposite of yourself,
right,
they suddenly would not trust you, because they're like, I just watched the episode of Enterprise. It literally came on after I watched the second episode of Lower Decks, and it just popped on, where Archer started like nurturing these hatchlings, and acting different, and they mutinied over it. Like he's not acting like himself.
Well, but that's because he was sacrificing the resources of the ship for these hatchlings, for a species that they are going after, for threatening to destroy Earth. So.
And you don't think about her changing who she is? She would have to do something that the crew now thinks is hurtful to the ship.
I mean, I guess because it's a difference between lightening up. I agree with both of you. I hear you. I agree. I'm here, but I'm just saying I feel like there's a difference between lightening up and making a change as if you were in the mirror universe and they were going to kill you over it. Like, see what I'm saying? Like,
I see what you're saying.
Like, we're not asking for a full 180. Like kind of like stop hitting them. Like, but then again, I don't know what it means to be captain of a starship, so I don't know.
See, it's a difficult proposition because I've seen it in. I'll give you an example from television.
Okay.
Did you guys watch the Drew Carey show in the 90s?
Sometimes.
I feel like
Ohio.
Yeah.
Right.
So in the Drew Carey show, for most of its run, he was the assistant manager of this department store in downtown Cleveland, and always trying to hopefully rise up to being the manager. Well, you had the first manager that was there. You didn't see him until he was fired at the end of the one season, and then they brought in a British guy to be the new manager. And at one point, Drew becomes manager, and he decides that he's going to do away with the one policy that he absolutely hated from both of the previous managers, which is their tendency to fire people at the drop of a hat.
Okay.
Like, even going so far as to seemingly fire someone just because he felt like firing somebody, like looking for a reason to fire somebody.
Like at will, I guess.
So Drew is now, I can't remember if he was acting manager or was appointed manager fully, but he said, I'm not going to fire people. I hated that people were scared to live their lives because, to do their job right, because they were worried they were going to get fired at any moment. Well, by him saying, I'm not going to fire anyone, people having disrespected him for years as the assistant manager, well, basically everything falls apart. People just start shirking their duties, doing a horrible job, and talking back to them, not doing their work, showing up late, leaving early, taking long lunches, not dressing appropriately, not doing what is expected of them.
Right.
But because they were no longer fearful of losing their job, they just let all restriction go away. Because they were so used to living under that possibility that you could get fired for anything. Now that the idea that he's saying, I'm not going to fire you, they think, oh, I can get away with anything.
Right. If you haven't used that as if that was your drive, your motivation at first, if you lose that, you lose everything.
So finally, he had to break down and fire someone, and do it, and he did it publicly, and it caused everybody to immediately snap back into position because they're fearful of getting fired again.
So it sounds like kind of like the conversation between Worf and O'Brien on Deep Space Nine about you can take it easy on your crewmen, but don't let go of the reins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, you have to establish what your leadership is going to be. I mean, luckily, my bosses don't lead by fear of firing. Luckily, I just respect them as managers, and I respect their choices, and I respect their comments.
Yeah.
For what I'm doing well, and it makes me want to, not disappoint them. As managers.
And when I worked at Best Buy, that's all my managers of the time did, was just threaten with firing you. And then when it came to memberships, I became their top salesman. And what was stupid was, even though and the numbers were there and they praised me for it, gave me a bunch of Reese's, whatever. Well, anyway, even though the numbers were there, the numbers were there, and I was number one on the board, and of all the others, and we were beating all the other local stores, they still not physically beat me, but they still beat me down that it wasn't enough and that I need to do more or I'm going to get fired. And so I said, I quit.
Yeah. So that's I mean, not against it, because I know my managers can fire me at any time, but like you probably were good at what you do. Like I said, probably your character. And I didn't mean that like,
well, I knew what you meant. Yeah.
I meant that like, it's probably, if you were selling stuff, it's probably your character. But they just didn't really care, and they just wanted more from you.
Yeah, and then ever since I quit, they kind of been talking shit about me ever since.
Of course.
Hey, did anybody think that the episode was going to lead into a battle over whose universe they were in?
No.
I did for a minute. For a minute, it seemed like, because they were like, "You're the bad ship" or whatever. I thought they were going to like.
No.
It was a case of the way they were talking down each other. Like, first of all, the whole idea of saying back to the Prime universe. Well, no, it's Prime. To their perspective, there isn't the Prime universe,
right?
And they just constantly like, one crew is this way, and one crew is made up of nothing but freaks. But yeah,
I get that. I think that about when you look at the CW DC universe, and you were watching that stuff, and they're like, well, this is Earth 216,
Crisis on Infinite Earth,
and it's just like, why isn't everybody calling themselves Earth 1? Like why isn't every universe saying we're Earth 1?
Oh, everyone does. It's just in the comics, and they've done this with Marvel as well. They've classified planets in different dimensions. They've given numbers.
I understand that. I understand why I would classify somebody as.
You're talking about.
Okay. All right. If you're making the classification, of course you're going to say this is Earth 1.
Right, but when they do it, they say I'm from Earth 129.
No, but you're thinking they're the ones that made up the classification. They're not.
Okay. Oh, so it's like area codes. I mean, it's
sort of. Once they find out there is alternate dimensions, they find out that there is a numbering system and that they are Earth 129 or whatever.
Because that's I think that's
it's like area codes. I got it.
Because if I haven't read the comics, but given the shows and the movies that I've watched from all the shows and all the movies, whether it be Star Trek or whatever, or DC or even Marvel, they kind of allude to having already known about each other. Maybe those specific people haven't met, but those universes have met. Therefore, a numbering system was established at the very least.
Right. So that's why in the United States, all of our numbers start with the number 1.
Yes. The country code.
The country code is the number 1.
Correct.
Because we invented the telephone.
Yes.
That's why our websites have .com and don't have .com/US. When everybody else in the world has to do /UK.
Or .ca, .uk, .ie, .it. Yeah.
Okay, now I gotta know. Internet. Now I gotta know, what does .com stand for?
Communication.
No, commercial.
Oh, is it commercial?
Commercial.
Okay.
So it's not just .USA. It's just.
No, we don't need it. We don't need to reference the United States because the United States invented it.
Well, did it first?
Like
yes.
.gov means U.S. government.
Right. Okay.
But if you notice, if you know anybody else from any other countries, they have to do /UK. Or
if they have their own
/KN for
they have their own server
Kenya or something. Yeah, they have it's an address that sends it to a whole other country.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's not like congress.gov/UK or it's
Amazon.com.
That's a subdomain. That's not
Amazon.com. Probably, I think they have a /UK.
Yes, but that's a commercial enterprise. Huh?
Yes.
When you're talking about organizations and things, their web domains would be something slightly different.
I find it remarkable that we are diving into a lot of subtopics with such detail, and I'm kind of like intrigued.
Yeah, fascinating.
I find it. Oh, you said. Oh, you already said.
Already said.
Jason, you got to come up with a different one. Come on.
You got to come up with another one.
I can't. Just
well,
because
you guys are both Central Time Zone, so you can just both go with remarkable, and I'll stay fascinating here in the Eastern.
Right.
Also, before we finish the B and C plot of this episode, I have two. They're not here right now, but they're interested on coming on the show. Have you heard of the guy that is like I guess I don't know if he's like an eye doctor or something, and he turned his whole office into a Starfleet office. Like it looks like a genuine sick bay. Have y'all heard of that?
I think we're paying him too much money for eye treatment.
Well, it's something. Well, Garrick Wang visited him this week for an actual appointment, and it was so cool. So I invited him onto the show.
His
really
actual
cool.
office? Where is he located?
It's somewhere in California.
Okay.
And then there's another guy that's in California, and then there's another guy in Australia, who I didn't know lived in Australia because he said he wanted to be here, but right now.
Well, what's his website? .u/UA?
AUS.
AUS.
Is that
what it is?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
And he reviews Star Trek on TikTok, so I thought that was really cool. But anyway, they said hi. So
no, that's cool.
But okay, yeah, go ahead, Keith.
Well, so to properly segue this, so they said that they weren't going to do an overarching plot like they did last year, but now we know that's a lie already from these first two episodes and from what we saw in the trailer, as we discussed last week and the week before, because we saw two different dimensions shown. We know that at some point in the season there's going to be more dimension hijinks because that's how you explain all the Ensign Kims. That was from the trailer, and that was in this first episode.
Kim.
We have.
There he is.
Yeah. So that is from a future episode. Obviously, we don't know when, and they've only given us the names of the episodes that have aired this week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe there's a Ready Room. I didn't see anything on Paramount Plus about a Ready Room for today. Usually they release a next time trailer and the episode title for the next week on Ready Room.
Bless you.
That might be tomorrow, though. They've done that a couple times where they didn't do Ready Room until the next day.
I watched an interview with Will Wheaton that I wish I would have watched a couple months ago about him being on Prodigy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had recorded this like 4 years ago, and he'd been keeping this secret the whole time. It's crazy.
Well, considering how long production of Prodigy ended up lasting, yeah, that tracks. Because, as remember, they had to shut down because of a strike, and then it was months and months and months of delays before they got a new home.
Right.
Because they made season 2 and then they canceled it. And then it was months until Netflix finally bought it, and then it was another 6 months of delays from the time they bought it till they started showing it.
Hey, Will, I got a serious question for you.
Oh, that's a first.
How many lights do you see?
I see 2 lights.
Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah. So we already obviously knew that we were going to get a resolution of Tendy's story, but the fact of the way things really carried over from one episode to the other, it was, even though they were on a completely different mission in the second episode, Boimler is definitely cribbing from alternate dimension Boimler's book. Like he's got his pad, and the Bointers.
He's got the Bointers
from the alternate dimension. And then you have Mariner struggling with having a level of command and not wanting to turn into Psycho Becky.
You know,
Who do you think?
I did not notice that, Keith, because as episodic as this is giving both the A and B plots are very climactic. Like,
Yeah, I mean they don't say it right out, but you know that's where it's from. I mean, who do you think out of all the episodes of Lower Decks, who do you think has the most problems of trying to figure out who they want to be and how they want to get there?
Oh, Mariner by far.
You think Mariner?
Oh.
I was gonna say Boimler.
Oh no, Mariner by far. Boimler knows exactly what he wants to be.
Okay, maybe he just doesn't know how to get. Maybe he doesn't know how to
Exactly.
get
He
there.
lacks the
Yeah.
confidence to get there.
he lacks the confidence because in season 1 he was promoted and he kind of wanted to go back. So
Well, no, he missed his friends, and there were things that he was thrown into a completely different ship, a completely different situation. But then once he had the clone, then he had opportunity for a version of him to go back, so he did.
is it just me or did each person of the Lower Decks leave at some point and come back?
Rutherford hasn't left.
Rutherford hasn't left yet.
He's been there the whole time. Oh my God, Pete! There is a Moopsie right behind you.
Yes, I know. I'm in charge of caring for the Moopsie.
Okay, I
so-
thought.
Oh my God, that's a shirt. That's a Moopsie shirt.
Yes.
I just from this angle, all I could see was caution. So I just thought it was just like a red alert.
Well, it's not
Elcar's
white.
shirt.
It's not white either.
Who cares? It's a Moopsie shirt.
Well, I mean,
That's why we
in this
didn't.
lighting, it doesn't look white.
Wait, is it okay? It might be the lighting. Is it white?
It is the lighting.
Well, the Elcars looks right. Well, I don't know.
I can't get it to go to white.
Don't
Okay,
worry about
but yeah. So,
Okay,
but
moving on.
yes, so we now in the second episode, Shades of Green, the A story is Tendi,
Mm-hmm.
and the B story are the crew of the Cerritos. In which, well, there's three stories in the second episode.
Okay.
A story is Tendi trying to so they got the ship at the end of the first one, and now they've been accused of not being pirate enough, so they have to do a solar race.
I love how this dude has like a hole in the top of his cap for his hair to come through.
Right, only the captain seems to have the whole helmet there. And the captain's name is Kelevin. So it's Kevin with an L thrown in there.
Of course.
His name is Kelevin Shalablin.
That would be my brother. And also a professional Irish dancer in Pittsburgh.
Cool.
No, not my brother's not the professional Irish dancer, but there is a kid. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
There's a separate.
So the A is Tendi, the B is the crew, and the C.
The B is Mariner and Boimler on the planet. The C lot is T'Lyn and Rutherford on the ship. Right. So it's T'Lyn noticed after seeing how Rutherford interacted with Rutherford in the previous episode, decides that she wants to try to help him get over the absence of Tendi by fixing the shuttle, not realizing that actually made it worse because he was holding out hope that she would come back at some point, and he didn't want the shuttle to be fixed because he would hope that someday Tendi would be back and they'd fix it together.
Right.
Whereas you have Boimler trying to be more confident and Mariner trying to be commanding, but not Psycho Becky. So telling Boimler to allow his crew to take a break. And then, of course, by taking a break, they end up getting captured by the robber barons, by the capitalists.
This thing is interesting about capitalism, right?
This is a very interesting topic.
I mean, I have a question about capitalism itself. Is we really, Star Trek really isn't, not Star Trek, the Federation really doesn't have a lot of capitalism going on.
It isn't. It's a socialist society.
Right. So I don't know. I guess I haven't lived in a socialist society. It's just kind of weird about how would that work? How do you think that would work in our society if we didn't have
I,
capitalism
I
anymore?
think the question is, how do we want it to work? Because if mishandled, it could go very badly, right?
Go very badly how?
Okay, well, the question of capitalism versus socialism in the way it's presented in this episode is a question of scarcity. You had the
Right.
rich because they controlled so much of everything, that because they controlled the wealth, they controlled the power. And so by the introduction of replicators, they were able to create a post-scarcity economy. And therefore it could be socialist because, as they said, as Boimler said when he, took the one person's, conveyance, the speeder, she said, "Oh, I'll just replicate a new
Let's
one."
replicate another one. It's like that's fine.
So it's almost a little bit of taking it back to Fight Club. It's like you own your possessions end up owning you. This is breaking free of the idea of possession there. Like, yes, that
It's
was
not
that
even.
person's.
It's not even just the idea of possession. It's the idea of having to work to get another one. So
Mhm.
socialism in the past, there was still a lot of work to be done, right? That people had to do. Socialism in the
Yes.
future, given AI and robots and all that, there's not. It's still possible because there's not a lot of work to be done. There wouldn't be. You can Humans
Well,
wouldn't need to do anything.
when you look at the way our society is right now, first of all, note that 7% of the population controls 93% of the wealth.
Yes. I mean, I
Okay?
don't know. Yes, but I would
No,
agree
I
with.
actually looked into that this summer because I was having a
Okay.
conversation because I was going to business school. I fully indoctrinated into the 80-20 rule.
Okay.
20% control 80%. And how, if you look at professional sports, 80-20 is pretty much standard. 20% of the team controls is 80% of the salary cap. You have the star players, like the big three on the team in basketball, the starting forwards and goalie in the hockey team, the quarterback and top defensive players and wide receivers in football, baseball, your pitchers, and then
Yeah.
one or two other skill players, maybe a designated hitter. But the idea that 20% get 80% of the salary cap of the total salary in American society, if you would, in Washington, the world society we're currently are in, there is that incredible imbalance. Now we have it within our ability. When you look at the amount of food that is produced versus the amount of people, we have more than enough food for every single person on this planet to be fed.
We have way more than enough food. It's not
Yes.
even close. We probably have more food. We could probably produce enough food in this country alone to feed almost the whole. I don't know. I'm guessing.
No, that
That's
I
pretty
wouldn't say
close.
that much because you got to
Okay.
remember, India and China both have 1 billion people on
Okay,
their
but
own, and we have
there's
330 million here.
okay. I might be reaching there, but there's a lot of food in the world. There's
Yes,
way more food than people need.
and
It's not a problem of producing food. It's a problem of uh, well, one, transferring the food, but two, allowing people to have the food.
well,
It's
it's
political.
a combination. Yes, transporting it, but also the idea that the transportation is one thing, but keeping it fresh in that transportation, that once it gets there, it's still edible.
We could do that if we wanted to, no problem.
Well, I mean, it's refrigeration trucks, it's the technology, it's the electricity, it's all that.
But the problem is
Uh,
that somebody has to pay for it.
exactly. And you look at the areas where there is mass starvation, you find that they don't. This is going back. It's one of the final episodes of The West Wing.
I love that
So
show.
many of the major missions to provide relief to certain areas falter because of lack of roads and plumbing. So
Well, it also falters because of political boundaries and forcing people to live somewhere where they can't even grow food.
Right. But those things also keep roads and plumbing from being built too. So,
Yes. Yeah, I
when
mean,
you realize there are parts of Europe where there are people in Europe, would you think Europe is pretty well along developmentally, that do not have electricity,
right.
let alone internet. Heck, there are parts of here in the United States that do not have internet. I used to vacation with my ex's family a week every year at the Outer Banks in North Carolina, and I was talking to someone in the thrift store there one of the last times I was there, and they mentioned they don't have a computer at home, and that a lot of people around that they make their living off the tourism industry, and they use Wi-Fi at the public library. They are getting by. So a
Right.
lot of things that a lot of us are used to.
I'm 50. I'm 50, and I've had a computer since I was 5. Since 1980, I've had a computer my entire life.
Well, just the fact that the median income in the United States is $39,000.
Is it still that
Yes,
much?
yes.
Because I complain about my income, and
So,
it's a
in other
lot more
words,
than that.
half the population makes more than 39,000, and half the population makes less than 39,000.
Yes, and the reason for that is almost how many people are qualified to do your job,
Mhm.
coupled with how much money do you directly make the company. And there's a whole lot of reasons for
Yeah,
why that disparity, but those jobs still have to be there.
right.
Anyway, this
I know
might dive
it's
into a whole nother
all very
conversation.
complicated.
This
Yes,
might dive into a whole nother conversation.
William.
But we
Yeah, I can feel it like diving into another conversation because that's why I'm kind of hesitant to ask this question. I've kind of always wanted this. In Quarks, you can explain it away, because Ferengi, they're a capitalistic society. Orions, they are a capitalistic society. Hell, they're fucking pirates.
Yeah,
Um,
they're not a capitalist society.
yeah, they're just pirates. Yeah. So, all right. As happy as I am for this new species that I don't remember seeing before, that is now part of the Federation, and they're burning their money.
Are they
Great.
part of the Federation?
I think they are because I think that's what they said in the beginning as part of Freeman's log, that they are accepting of it because they're celebrating of it in their own way.
Well, no, it's my understanding from the log that they have developed the replicator technology themselves.
Oh, good for them.
Yeah.
Then why are they there?
To help clean up all the.
Oh, okay. I'm sitting there like, okay. Well, even then, okay. Who they developed the replicating technology? Great. Someone still has to either build or repair them.
Yeah.
Yes, and you will have.
Yeah. Someone still has to build structures, buildings, architecture, or someone design it. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm
Well,
getting at?
yeah, but you will have people that literally just want to do that. So you will have people who just
Keith,
want to be artists, want to be architects, want to be engineers, and that's what they want to do. So they're free to do that. But what they don't need is just replicator technology. They need energy. I don't know if they touched on that, but they need free energy to do this. And not as long as you have that, but if you have free energy to do things, then the government can just give these people that are building things the money that they need or the things that they need.
What were you gonna say, Keith?
We all have, to quote Liam Neeson, a particular set of skills. We all have particular things that we are very, very good at.
Mm-hmm.
And some things that we are so good at that we would have no problem at times freely giving away
Yes.
our talent in doing those things.
Mm-hmm.
And now there is a movie recently where it said, if you're ever good at something, never give it away for free. That was the Joker in The Dark Knight.
But we're capitalists.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time doing things in my community, at work, on YouTube, giving away stuff that I do that I just enjoy doing. The fact that we are here talking is us giving our time. It's giving our knowledge. It's our giving our ability to watch these shows and pick out details, our ability and things that we are using our own skills and putting them on display here for free. None of us are getting paid to be on this podcast right now.
Right.
It is the hope that we get people watching this podcast and joining in and getting our subscription numbers up so that we can monetize it and then eventually merchandise and make sponsors and we make money off of it. But that is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is for us to come together as friends and talk about Star Trek.
That's a good point.
Right. I would take, let's say that the two richest people in the world right now.
Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
Yes. Both of these people make more money than any of us that we ever know is going to make.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, of course, everybody wants to be rich. We all want to make money. But both of them were driven on an idea of what they wanted to do.
Yes.
And not just based on them. Because Elon Musk was willing to go broke to make his two companies work, Tesla and SpaceX. He would not. Everybody told him, you got to give up one of these companies, dude. You got to give it up because you're going to go broke. And he's just like, no, I'm not. I need to do. He was driven to do this. Same thing with Jeff Bezos. Like he had an idea to build something and to create something, and he went through with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying maybe he did some shady shit or whatever. I don't know.
The key thing about Jeff Bezos, and I say this more for him than Elon, Amazon doesn't make a profit.
I think it does now, doesn't it?
Well, no, because they're constantly putting more and more money into developing new things such that the costs continue to go above the amount of money coming in. And he's willing to bankroll these projects, these research and development projects, and that's why they're looking at drones to be able to deliver items and pinpoint advertising and all these other things in the market from Amazon, because they are constantly seeing the need to better themselves, and that's more important than hitting a certain profit number.
I will say this though, Keith. You're only talking about at best 5-10% of people.
Yes.
The rest of us would just be drunks and heroin addicts, probably.
Well, when you realize Jeff's ex-wife has given away over 30% of her fortune, and she still has more money than 99% of the population combined.
Just because she's married?
No, because
she's his ex-wife and
she divorced. And she divorced him and took half his money, and then he proceeded to make more money than he lost through the divorce, like within the next month or two after that.
And he came to DC and he bought a museum. He wanted to buy 2 houses, and there was a museum in between the 2 of them. So he bought the museum and both houses and then knocked down the walls between them to make one giant house.
And all he said was, hey, I want to send anybody whatever they want within a day or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody said, you're fucking crazy and you're going to lose your money.
Yep. And he has created a warehouse system that defies all classification standards, but it works.
And it gets better. I'm starting to get things in a couple hours.
Yep. Well, yeah, the groceries and all that, and as well.
I've never bought groceries. I'm talking about hardcore items. I've bought things on Amazon and got it in like 4 or 5 hours.
I did Amazon groceries when I was home with COVID, so.
I've been doing Uber Eats lately. I have a question. Which one, whether it be new Trek, 90s Trek, or old Trek, which one of our Star Trek characters do you think, because I have someone in mind already, do you think that Elon Musk resonates the most with?
Lorca.
That's one. Okay, what about you, Jason?
I was gonna say soon.
Which soon? I was
All
gonna
of them.
say,
Yeah, all of them.
because in my head, I was thinking about the Soon from Picard season 2. Like,
Adam Stone,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yep.
like
Now the thing is, you got to remember that Elon is a very intelligent man. Yes,
he's
not the main scientific and engineering backbone of Tesla or SpaceX.
He's just the idea driver.
Hold on. He was the head engineer of SpaceX because he couldn't find anybody to work for him. He couldn't. All the good engineers when he was hiring for SpaceX didn't believe in what he was doing, and all the other ones, so they didn't get hired, and all the other ones weren't qualified to do it. And he was the lead engineer of SpaceX for years.
But for most of what has made SpaceX work has been the work of the others that he's brought on.
Oh, absolutely. He put together a team. There's no doubt about.
The thing is, it's the same thing that Edison with Tesla. Edison would bring on the smart people. He had the light bulb and he had the kinetoscope, and then he brought on people that inspired him for all the other inventions.
The kaleidoscope, I love that thing. It's like
kinetoscope.
I know.
I was about to say kaleidoscope at first, but no, the kinetoscope, the first movie player.
That's Jason's comeback for the remarkable thing. Like that's his slight comeback.
Okay, so we got a lot into the economics of that, but what do we feel of what we're seeing now of Mariner and Boimler continuing building off of the culture shock that they got in episode 1 in episode 2, and seeming like that this is going to be their season-long arc? Like Boimler's search for confidence and Mariner's search for a way to be command, but not to be psycho.
They're growing up. And I mean that as in maturing. Like they're maturing. And we start to see a season or two ago, Boimler is starting to get his confidence anyway. But this is kind of like, at which direction do you want to take your confidence? You know, like, and I guess he's trying to say, I'm gonna be like other universe Boimler, and I promise that's only gonna last for another episode or two.
You think so? I
do because I feel like we are going to meet up with William later on this season, because we need to know what happens to Section 31 William, and if we see him in Section 31, that just makes it even better. That
wouldn't work with the timeline, but
it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work with where Sorjo landed, but
they did let us know that Naomi Wildman is 10 years old.
Yeah,
she's 10 years old, which does, because Keith and I talked about this last week, that this takes place right after Voyager,
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Prodigy, and then it's Picard. So as far as timelines go, I think
Jason and I discussed that on Trek That on Sunday night as well,
which by the way airs tomorrow, guys. So
so the live stream, unedited live stream, is on the AS21 channel, but you can watch the edited version tomorrow here on Trekkers Delight.
Yep. But yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of maturing, and I think it right away. It doesn't feel like the final season. It doesn't. It feels like the mid.
I disagree on that.
Like it doesn't feel like the final season. It feels like they are kind of about to set us up for something else, which they are.
It is the final season, right?
Yeah. It is the final season, but I'm talking about.
There are two. Well, there was a talk. There was a quote today I saw one from Noel Wells. I saw one from Jack Quaid, and just the idea that the story is ending in this form, but it may continue on in another form after that.
That's what I'm getting on. Like it's like,
and we talked about it on Trek That, because Trek Culture suggested that there could be a Lower Decks movie in our future.
And let me ask you a question though. We keep talking about things that happened, and we do this every season with every show. Well, it's more so for this show and Prodigy because they're younger people, and something that happens that sort of changes them and move in a certain direction within their career or within their life. Do you think there are moments in your life that you can put down and say, hey, this is kind of a moment that changed me in my career to move this way, or even in my love life or professional life, whatever?
Absolutely. I can tell you, I mean, I don't have to go into the specifics, but I can tell you it was my birthday. Keith, you remember my birthday episode?
Yeah.
Tapestry.
Yeah.
It's and we were basically covering, and each person that was there that night was sharing their experience of what might change them. Do they regret it? Do they want to go back? Would they change it? Would they keep it? Absolutely.
Yeah, I talked about it in that episode. There's a book by Matt Haig called The Midnight Library, in which a woman passes away by drug overdose at midnight on New Year's, and she's taken to this library where she's presented with basically every possible choice of if she had done her life differently, and then it goes through like 4 or 5 different things that she could have done differently and where her life would be at this point at that age, and basically it's kind of like the It's a Wonderful Life. She gets a chance to decide to do something again, except in It's a Wonderful Life you only see one different version. Well, this one you saw multiple, and I highly recommend that book. Excellent book. I know from my life that I can pinpoint different things at different points in my life, that where I am today, how I got there, how I got things that I did, things that people around me did, things that have happened outside of my control, and put me in. I'm fully aware of how I am where I am. It wasn't always that way. I had to find out things. When I found them out, really hurt me. Knowing some things I didn't realize were weighing against me.
Right. It can to understand that and confront that.
Yeah. Well, confront is a whole other thing. The understanding it and accepting that is part of it. But confrontation can be a whole nother matter when it deals with like certain people that were in my life before.
Oh, you need to call a couple of homies over there with a pair of pliers and a blowtorch.
Yeah,
that's from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Okay, so we don't know the name of next week's episode yet, and we know. Actually, no, we do. We do.
I'm gonna say, isn't there a list? I'm gonna say, yeah, because I remember, didn't you post a name list or something?
Yeah, I did. It just Memory Alpha has not updated yet, but I shared that with the Truckers Delight.
It is called the best exotic nanite hotel.
Oh, that's interesting. You think
it sounds like
involved?
A board? Yeah, they gotta be. Maybe that's where
not necessarily, because remember we had a whole episode on nanites in TNG that had no reference to the Borg whatsoever.
Yeah.
That was Evolution, the first episode of season 3 of TNG.
Yeah, we got the name list. We have the name list. Okay. Oh, they do cover Starbase 80. Oh.
Yeah, so now okay, so can you pull up that picture from the
yes,
and put that up on the screen, and we can use that to. It would have been great if we had it last week when we were doing our preview.
Was that on last week? I wasn't on last week.
No, you weren't.
Here we go. Downloads. Recent. Oh, I love technology. Here we go.
What happened to Jermaine? I haven't seen him in a year.
Yeah.
Maybe we're crossing through the void and he's in his captain's quarters.
Maybe he's like 0.325 variants off.
327.
327.
Well, no, that's in the chip, but no, here it's 325.
Oh. Right, exactly.
I thought that was good. Maybe a little bit train of thought. Oh, that's why I can't see it. I didn't save it yet. Okay, here we go.
1.21 gigawatts.
Okay.
Okay, here it is. And yes, please give me do it. Like
Just click and point.
I
It's not that
am.
simple.
Point and click.
Here it is. It's loading.
It's not L cars.
There we go. Okay. So yeah, Trek Central made this graphic with the source being Rotten Tomatoes. So okay. So now we know Starbase 80 episode 5 is probably going to be a free episode focusing on Captain Freeman figuring out how did her alternate self get sent to Starbase 80.
Yeah, because a certain decision she's going to make is going to come up.
New Next Generation is interesting.
Honestly,
Yes.
of Gods and Angels reminds me of do you remember the fan movie of Gods and Men?
Yes.
Star Trek?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope
it could be a reference to that. Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
Upper Decks, I think that might be our whole crew has to command the ship. Maybe.
Or maybe there's another promotion in line.
Maybe Fishy Quest sounds like Galaxy Quest.
All right, a farewell to farms could be. He could possibly connect to Boimler with his family farm, or Fishy Quest makes me think of Fisher like we had in the episode 1 with the Fisher in space.
So we're going to be dealing with different universes, it looks like.
Yes, it's a multiverse season because Hollywood hasn't done enough multiverse stories.
They have not.
5 years.
Did you see Deadpool? He was just like,
yes.
It's enough.
I think
that's just stop.
It's like, you know, and in a way, I'm kind of glad that we're kind of touching on a different universe without it being the mirror universe or an or if you think about it, I guess you can think of different universes as alternate timelines if you really think about it. But
that's what they are. Yes,
that's essentially what they are. So I'm kind of glad that this is something that's like other than mirror universe or Kelvin universe. It's just something a little bit different, kind of like what Worf went through.
Right, parallels.
Literally, yeah, parallels. Right.
Yeah, up until the episode Yesterday's Enterprise, there was only 2 universes in. Well, actually, no, not even that. Because City on the Edge of Forever had an alternate universe.
Universe. Yeah,
it's all different universes has always been a thing in Star Trek, and I'm kind of okay with that. It's just. Yeah, it's just everybody else doing it so much. It's just
the problem is Deep Space Nine did it way too much. TNG and Voyager neither of them had a single episode in the mirror universe. Deep Space Nine had 7.
But TNG had some alternate universe.
Right, because they had Yesterday's Enterprise, then they had Tapestry with the alternate with Picard.
And parallels, like you just said.
And parallels with the multiple, yeah.
I am still on the
and
hill.
Then the season the series finale.
Yes.
I am still gonna die on the hill that the message in the bottle, or the doctor episode where he's like his copy.
Oh yeah.
That one.
9.
That one. That no.
Voyager.
Voyager, where his copy is like on a different planet. And
no, not message bottle.
you know what? Yeah,
living witness.
I am still gonna die on that hill. That is the mirror universe, and that they interpreted it correctly.
I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna find out soon that that's not true.
I know because of Academy, I get that, but still, like it would be so beautiful.
It holds true that it's in a Prime universe, just because in season 1 and 2 of Voyager, they were already getting negative flack for what things that they were doing. They were getting negative responses, and people weren't getting the correct understanding of what Voyager was doing out there.
Right. Well, the Kazon was spreading lies.
Yeah.
So people had negative opinions of them. And then, of course, we find out later that there was a group of thieves that were masquerading as the Voyager. And of course, the Equinox was out there, too, also.
This did not give a good look for the Federation.
Yeah.
And then 8472 and...
Well, I just watched some episodes of Enterprise, where it's like, I was thinking of Branson when looking at Scott Bakula. I'm like, oh, It's kind of some Branson shit going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, if they would have gone to another season, they said they were going to introduce the idea that the future guy that from season 1 and Venture Enterprise was going to be a future archer.
Well, they should have did another season, but I mean,
they
they
should have
really
done another season. Yes. The only thing I didn't like about
Daniels.
The only thing I didn't like about the planned season 5 that we didn't get was that they were going to include a Borg storyline about the beginnings of the Borg and have Alice Krige as a human scientist.
Who's Alice Krige?
The Borg Queen from First Contact.
Oh, yeah.
They were going to have her as a human scientist, and we would see her being assimilated and become.
By that point, we already had the Vaudoir episode, which proves that the Borg have existed 700 years before. No, they're not 700 years, but at that point, but at that point, 300 years before Enterprise existed.
No, it just means that they might have went through time travel. That's all that means.
But yeah, they had plans to do a Borg origin story if they would have had a season 5 of Enterprise. That's the only thing I don't like about the plan. What they talked about the plan season 5.
They already had a Borg episode in Enterprise.
Yeah, and when you look at it, it was pretty well done because what is one word that is never said at any point during that entire episode?
Borg.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so let's do a real quick news list. Check out the Trek That tomorrow for the full breakdown of New York Comic Con and all the news that came out of that. Jason and I did a pretty exhaustive review of everything there. Other news real quick to get through. Of course, we've got the 2 new episodes. Some more information about the Section 31 movie is coming out now that we have a release date, January 24th. We have EXO-6 has released another Star Trek action figure. This one is Klingon Commander Kruge from Search for Spock. It's a 1/6 actual size, and it's marketed for $295. So
I want to.
And then the last bit of news I had that apparently LeVar Burton is here in town in DC because he was awarded the National Humanities Medal at the White House this past weekend from the National Endowment for the Humanities.
Nice.
So
for rebuilding the Enterprise.
No, for his work and predominantly reading Rainbow, but a few other things. And others honored at the ceremony were Steven Spielberg, Spike Lee, Queen Latifah, Aaron Sorkin, John Meacham, Anthony Bourdain, posthumously, of course, there. There were 19 people in all who received medals, and it was people who had been awarded them over the past 3 years, and they basically were covering all the ones that they had met, in the backlog of getting through all the stuff from COVID.
I want to know what Queen Latifah did, but I guess that's a different time.
Here, I'll put a link in the comments, and then you can go ahead and look on your own time there, Jason, because she's definitely done a lot more than just her acting and music.
Good to know.
And there's a link in there to all 19 ones.
If I'm not mistaken, I think she invested in her community housing or something.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. I know she did actually. And I'm coming to you from Minneapolis tonight.
Nice.
I'm gonna say, is that a hotel room?
It is a hotel room. I'll be here for a week.
What are you in Minneapolis for?
I'm in Minneapolis in a convention center about American Public Health.
Cool.
American Public Health. We need to get you with Michael then.
Why, something wrong with his health?
He works in health policy.
Works in health policy.
I know. Sometimes I say jokes that aren't really seen as jokes.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess that's it. Do we got anything else, gentlemen?
Nope.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. We covered this episode pretty. I feel like we've expanded on a lot of parts pretty thoroughly. It was really good conversation.
And if there's anything we missed, be sure to leave your comments below. And also, if I got anything wrong in talking about capitalism versus socialism and post-scarcity economies. Feel free to call me out. I'm not an economist. I have a business degree, but not an economics degree. So
Yeah, and like and share. And
No.
if there's anything you don't like about Will, leave those in the comments too.
if there's anything you don't like about Jason, you send them to Jason's private email. If there's anything you don't like about me, shut the F up.
No, if you anything you don't like about Keith, show up at his house with a sign.
Exactly. I don't know what happened to my camera, but you know what? Screw it. So at least you can still hear me. That's it, guys. Everyone, live long and prosper. We'll see you next week. Bye. Wait, Jason, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you being right now? I gotta know.
I'm serious, dude. You got
Like 10 out of 10
I'm 100%
serious,
serious.
or picking on Michael serious? Which one?
There is no temperature in space. It's not cold.
What are you serious?
Okay, wait.
Who is? Oh dear God! It just got
because you
better.
said his name.
Welcome to the party, Michael.
No, that is not how we're gonna end the episode,
No.
because Keith
No.
actually has like a legitimate news update. He knows shit, and we should possibly like convey that knowledge.
That's
to
my
other
favorite
people.
line. He knows shit.
It's just like a black and red mound. It's like,
Why are you describing yourself?
what the hell?
Hello from
Hey, Virgil.
Hey,
Hey, Virgil.
welcome.
Hello, Virgil. Welcome. Who are you?
Who?